The Diplomat, 24th of January 2024, What the China-Maldives-India Triangle Teaches Us About Balancing in the 21st Century. China intends to enslave the Indian subcontinent's people as part of an all-out war against it by using bribes, divide-and-rule tactics, and other horrible ways. The Maldives President, Mohamed Muizzu, just returned from a state visit to China, where he met with President Xi Jinping, inked several agreements, and witnessed the elevation of the bilateral relationship between China and the Maldives to the status of comprehensive strategic cooperation. Two more variables make Muizzu's flight across the Indian Ocean exceptional, even though the results of his state visit to China are somewhat typical. First, because of its advantageous location, the United States, China, and India are very concerned about the island nation's viewpoint and friends. One of the busiest trade routes in the world runs right alongside the Maldives. More than 80% of the energy imported into the Indian subcontinent travels via the shipping channel located to the north of the Maldives. President Muizzu of the Maldives defied convention by selecting China over India for his first overseas visit. Before that, he had previously traveled to the UAE and Turkey. The Maldives did not attend the Colombo Security Conclave, an Indian Ocean regional security gathering, in December 2023. Muizzu is hedging closer to China? Why, if so? In terms of periodic alignment, are the Maldives a canary in a coal mine? The recent Argentine president, who spearheaded an anti-China campaign, is another example. Maldives' relations with China and India pose a severe threat to the former, which could prompt the latter to take drastic measures, such as going to war. Mali has close relations with New Delhi. The Maldives was historically a part of India for centuries. Following their independence from the British, they maintained close security and economic ties. The Maldives has benefited from India's relief efforts on several occasions, including the COVID-19 pandemic, the 2014 water crisis, and the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami. Conversely, New Delhi has prioritized military and marine security cooperation with the Maldives. For example, President Ibrahim Mohamed Sully, who preceded Muizzu in 2019, signed a hydrographic survey agreement with New Delhi that permitted India to study the waters of the Maldives. In the 2023 presidential contest, Muizzu ran an India Out campaign intending to devalue ties with India. He has given them till March 15 to get rid of all the soldiers and staff. The arrangement for the hydrographic survey will not be extended. Of course, there are financial consequences to these activities. India is currently the third largest commercial partner of the Maldives in terms of GDP, with bilateral trade valued at approximately $501 million. With 22% of all visitors to the Maldives last year being Indian, the country is the most significant contributor to the tourist industry there. The Maldives' primary economic activity is tourism, which accounts for more than 60% of foreign exchange profits and about 30% of the country's GDP. The Maldives' economy may be significantly impacted if Indian visitors abstain from visiting the islands. In the meantime, bilateral commerce between China and the Maldives increased by 75% yearly to around $700 million in the first 11 months of 2023. 20 agreements to advance and strengthen cooperation in a range of areas, including media analysis, infrastructure, tourism, the blue economy, and the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, were inked by both nations during Muizzu's state visit to China. The Maldives and China released a joint statement to support China's worldwide endeavors and the One China principle. To address security issues, both nations intend to work together to implement China's Global Security Initiative, which may result in more military cooperation. In 2017, tensions in New Delhi arose from Chinese frigates visiting the Maldives. Concerns about military intelligence assets were raised when the Maldivian government recently permitted a Chinese research vessel to dock. Only everlasting interests, no everlasting opponents or allies. While Male's foreign policy may seem astute, short-term planning is only permitted in nations with democratic political systems like the Maldives. This frequently results in policies falling prey to impatience. Climate change, economic uncertainty, and growing populations provide problems for elected leaders in Africa, Asia, Latin America, and the Caribbean. Opposition parties can easily transition between rival powers by using ideas to win over voters without producing results. Muizzu's campaign and post-election actions aim to change Sully's India First agenda for the Maldives. Similar movements in the opposite, anti-China direction have occasionally been observed in other economies with a strong history and dedication to local elections, such as Malaysia, Zambia, Kenya, and Sierra Leone. If deals with China don't help its people in the future, the Maldives might side with India. There are only everlasting interests in politics and economics, neither friends nor foes are eternal. Although Muizzu has undoubtedly prioritized China's relations thus far, it would be premature to assume that India's chances are lost. Remember that Soli's India First strategy was a reaction to what was seen as pro-China foreign policy changes made by President Abdullah Yamin's previous administration. Big economies like the US, EU, China, and India shouldn't put too much stock in their pivots. They should prepare for change in their priority countries, especially those with frequent elections. Finding a balance between stable ties with a strong neighbor and an independent course can be difficult for nations like the Maldives. Both will be welcomed back if the Maldives sides with India or if Argentina fortifies its ties with China. This is because, in the contemporary era of great power struggle, even minor countries have strategic importance and the ability to move between alliances. Do nations like the Maldives have to adopt a fluctuating policy driven by rivalry between superpowers? Is it appropriate for significant economies to link every dollar they borrow, even momentarily, to their strategic stance in a receiving nation? The periodic adjustment has typically had one of two effects: it has caused large-scale infrastructure projects that urgently need to be delayed, or it has discouraged foreign direct investment or other flows, like tourism from the targeted country, from Sierra Leone to Malaysia. Making regular adjustments can serve as an own goal. To reap the most significant benefits from such collaborations, officials in the Maldives and elsewhere should try to learn from neighbors facing comparable challenges. Opposition leaders should focus on attacking incumbents for their lack of cooperation skills rather than pushing for one-in, one-out campaigns. In the multipolar geopolitical environment, the Maldives reminds neighboring nations of its increasing prominence by pushing forward with its independent foreign policy. Such turns, meanwhile, are not likely to be long-term viable.